The Cuban and US governments have both denied a media report saying Havana and Beijing agreed to establish a Chinese electronic eavesdropping facility in Cuba, some 160 kilometers south of Florida. A spy base with such proximity to several US military bases in the southeastern region of the country would have allowed Beijing to collect electronic communications and monitor ship traffic. The report about this secretive spying base was published in the Wall Street Journal. The report mentioned that the agreement was also reached in principle in exchange for several $billion for the cash-strapped Latin American country. Quoting unnamed US officials familiar with highly classified intelligence, the article said that the proposed base would allow China to conduct signals intelligence, a kind of espionage that would allow it to intercept emails, phone calls and other data from the US. The journal reported that the facility would allow Beijing to gather electronic communications from the southeastern US, which houses many US military bases, as well as monitor ship traffic. The US Central Command headquarters is based in Tampa. Fort Liberty, formerly Fort Bragg, the largest US military base, is also in North Carolina. While China and the US routinely surveil each other and other nations using satellites, overhead flights and other means, a Chinese outpost positioned roughly 100 miles from the Florida coast would undoubtedly inflame sensitivities that were already stoked by the US military shootdown of a Chinese surveillance balloon that traversed American territory in February. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby has denied the story. Pentagon spokesman Pat Ryder has also called the journal's report inaccurate. Cuba's Deputy Foreign Minister Carlos Fernandez addressed a press conference in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Havana and denied that there were any plans underway for building a Chinese spy base on its territory. He said that Cuba rejects all foreign military presence in Latin America, including the US bases and its troops. The report in the Wall Street Journal has come amid strains in relations between the US and China. There has been friction between the countries over a number of issues, including Taiwan. China considers Taiwan as its own territory and has not ruled out use of force to someday capture the island. The US is among the biggest backers of Taiwan and carries out navigation exercises in Taiwan Strait. US officials have long warned that China has been seeking to expand its influence abroad, including by offering material incentives to developing or impoverished countries. Cuba, like China, is a communist state with historic disagreements with the US. In 1962, Cuba became a potential location for what was feared to be the most direct confrontation between Washington and Moscow during the Cold War. The US rejected the Soviet Union's positioning of missiles on its Latin American neighbor soil, triggering what came to be known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. The crisis was seen as the closest both countries have come to threatening to use their nuclear arsenal.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.